AI isn't just a side project or prototype anymore. It is driving competitive advantage. AI agents are key to making sure your projects deliver and aren't just a diversion. You've probably already experimented with tools like ChatGPT, Claude, or Perplexity in your day-to-day work. Maybe you've thought, can we build something like this for ourselves? Can we build our own AI agent? The answer is yes. On the one hand, it's simpler than you might think. On the other, a recent report from MIT shows that just 5% of custom enterprise AI projects ever reach production. If we look closer, we begin to understand where companies struggle. While there is a lot of interest in investigating AI, companies are facing roadblocks when it comes to piloting and implementing custom AI projects. My name is Ingo Schellhammer, Chief Technology Officer at Statista. And today I want to show you not just how you can build an AI agent for your company, but how to cross the divide to become one of the 5% that thrives. Before we go further, let's be crystal clear on what we mean by an AI agent. This is not a chatbot with a clever prompt. An AI agent remembers. It stores context, learns from interactions, and understands intent, not just in the moment, but across time. A true AI agent has a memory layer to hold facts, policies, and key decisions. A customer service agent, for example, should be able to recall a client's last support tickets, so that the customer doesn't need to report the details of their case with each and every new contact with your company. It is also capable of acting autonomously. That means it can carry out multiple step tasks, manage handoffs, make decisions based on context, and escalate when needed, without constant human prompting. A finance agent that processes invoices should be able to perform tasks like matching it against a purchase order, assigning a cost center, and flagging discrepancies without needing human intervention at every stage. Most critically, it must integrate with the operational systems or other trusted data sources. For companies working with Statista, plugging into our market insights, consumer insights, and the Statista API are easy ways to create a true AI agent. Without integration into real systems of record, an AI agent is disconnected from real value. Integrating trusted information sources deepens the context, so the agent can answer accurately. For example, you might build a retrieval augmented generation module, a RAG module, pulling structured data from Statista's market and consumer insights via our API, alongside with your own knowledge base. These connectors provide read-only access, so the agent can cite facts and deliver current market analysis without guessing. Connecting to your operational systems lets the agent connect with your tools, your CRM to log a lead, or send a templated email, for example, or your ticketing system to assign a task. These integrations require secure, authenticated write access and should include human-in-the-loop controls. Take a sales email, for example, that your agent can draft using the proprietary data you hold in your CRM and up-to-date market data from Statista, and provide that to your sales team for approval before sending. If the tool you're building doesn't learn, remember, and act, and can't connect to your operational stack, then there is not an agent. It's a user interface wrapped around a model. In order to build your own AI agent, you need to have a clear idea of what you are trying to achieve. At this stage, you need to focus on the task, not the tech, to ensure you don't become one of the 95%. AI agents thrive in areas where the work is structured, repetitive, and high volume. These aren't edge cases. We all experience these cases on a close to a daily basis. These are the painful experience workflows your teams touch every day. Sounds easy in theory, but what do these cases look like in practice? Now, in finance, AI agents are already being used to automate accounts payable processes, perform three-way invoice matching, draft financial narratives that previously required hours of analyst time. Human resources departments are using them to generate job descriptions that match internal tone and legal standards, automate onboarding flows with personalized learning journeys, and answer employee questions about topics like leave entitlements, benefits, or processes in real time. In operations, AI agents help to manage order-to-cash processes, automate scheduling for service teams or logistic flows, and flag anomalies in inventory levels before they become supply chain problems. Legal and compliance groups are seeing value by using AI agents to generate contracts from clause libraries, map regulatory requirements, and answer governance questions in real time, even across jurisdictions. In our case, clients needed not just raw data points, but custom insights written in our editorial tone, with clear sourcing and logic. We needed a way to go beyond the search bar, matching terms with our database, and Research AI was the answer. We set out to build something tailored to our users. Our agent understands our taxonomy. It can search across our database of data on over 80,000 topics from more than 22,500 sources and synthesize a response using our voice and our standards. It remembers policy, it integrates with our editorial workflow, and it improves based on feedback. As an agent, Research AI helps our users to do their research in a matter of seconds, with more comprehensive coverage of all data sources and already curated in a ready-to-use style. To show you a simplified visualization of this, Research AI takes the input from a user, the question, and goes through an initial phase to weed out bots exceeding the rate limit. It determines which language the request is in and makes sure the request is legal and appropriate, things of that nature. The planning tool will lay the foundation of the answer, and in many ways, much of the magic happens here. There's a toolbox available to the planner, things like a calculator, if a user asks for information requiring combining or multiplying figures, a currency converter, if they want the amount in euros instead of dollars, and population sizes, if they want to know something on a per capita basis. The answer tool will form the bulk of the actual response, connected to the very same assets we offer our clients, our human-curated data, market insights platform, our consumer insights data, and our flexible API. And then there is some post-processing to do with how the answer is presented to match the style and standard that our customers are used to. Powering this, we use LLMs including GPT-4.nano, Claude Sonnet 3.5, and Cohere Rearing 3.5. Cohere is actually excellent at analyzing what the planner originally retrieves and bringing the most useful results right to the top. If I play this short demonstration now, you can see these elements at work. The inquiry goes in, the agent makes sure it passes all the checks. The planner begins to search and re-rank Statista data. The agent will then begin to generate and process the answer. If needed, I can then further refine my initial query, and the agent will respond accordingly. We defined very clear targets for things like response time, cost, and answer quality at the very beginning. And those metrics were actually instrumental in guiding our work towards something that actually was production ready, allowing us to become one of the 5% for whom our agent is thriving. To succeed with your agent, it is important to understand why is there such a gap between investment and outcome across the corporate landscape. And it's not about the models. The research is clear. The technology is not the constraint. The failures happen because of misaligned incentives, lack of ownership, poor integration, and weak measurement. These factors can lead to a project's demise and can be put down to some common traps and pitfalls. Some of these have been outlined not just in the publication like the MIT report I have mentioned, but the likes of Gartner, McKinsey, and others have also identified similar pitfalls. These issues aren't just theoretical, they manifest in predictable and highly visible ways. And today I'd like to take a closer look at 5 of them and propose some solutions. To close the learning gap, you must treat AI agents like products, not prompts. It can be tempting to begin with a well-crafted prompt and assume that's sufficient, but a prompt is not a product. It doesn't persist memory. It doesn't support escalation. It doesn't evolve. And solving that starts with memory. Your agent should be able to store and retrieve facts, policies, and historical context. It should recognize recurring users and tailor its responses accordingly. It should be able to retain domain-specific knowledge and editorial style guides, as we've done at Statista. You should ensure a pathway from your AI agent to a human to monitor and evaluate the learning process. As well as hands-on testing, logs should be reviewed, errors should be triaged, and improvements should be scheduled, not sporadic. The second issue is misplaced spending. according to MIT's data, most generative AI spending today leans toward front office experiments, like chatbots, pitch decks, personalized emails. These are easy to prototype. They demo well and they get attention. But the biggest return on investment consistently come from back office workflows, like invoice processing, internal documentation, can be claims handling, procurement approvals. These areas are high volume, high structured, and measurable. When rethinking AI budgets, start by rebalancing towards the back office. By overextending on front office flair, you risk missing the core value of AI agent, scalable, repeatable process automation. These are the areas where cost per transaction is high and automation creates instant value. So if you need a first move, pick 2 workflows where volume is really high, data is clean, and there's a metric the CFO really cares about. And then run those for a set period, like 90 days, and measure everything. Another key finding from MIT's research is that enterprises that build in-house succeed far less than those that buy or co-develop the solution. And this is not to say that the build-first reflex is to be totally avoided, but there are pitfalls you can avoid by taking the right steps. In-house builds can lack the productation mindset, domain expertise, and long-term resourcing needed to support and scale a real tool. When designing and outlining your project, be pragmatic and realistic with the resources you need, and identify any of the common hurdles, such as compliance issues, ahead of time. Think like you are your own product company, designing this agent for truly strategic capabilities. Cases where you're creating differentiated value, and you have the team to support full lifecycle development. Include UI UX sprints and end-user testing, and make sure to provide support structures and to have the team for full lifecycle development. Along this process, you will need to avoid measurement fog. Your measurement model must not be just CTO grade, but CFO grade, with metrics that really matter. So how do you do this? Well, start with the baselines. What's the current cost? What's the error rate and time per task? What's the rate of forced contact resolutions? You could even run control groups, teams that don't use the agent, to isolate the impact. If it works in your company, consult with finance from the start. Agree with how savings will be counted. Will reduced outsourcing spend be attributed to the agent? Will fewer hours spent on a process count as an operational efficiency? If finance can't sign off on the business case, your agent won't scale. What are the metrics that matter? Well, every company is different, of course. But for some inspiration, start with cycle time, the total time it takes to complete a task from start to finish. You can also track manual touches, how many times a human needs to intervene, or monitor the rework rate, how often tasks have to be redone due to errors. In customer service, measure deflection rate, the number of queries resolved without needing human support. If you can measure FCR, first contact resolution, you might be able to track how often an issue was resolved on the first contact. And if you can, calculate unit cost, the cost per transaction or task. Accurate measurements in these areas will help identify your agent's impact and get your CFO excited. So how can this be put into action? Take this plan as an example that you scale up or down as necessary for your size, your industry, and your company's level of AI maturity, based on the lessons learned from the core problems. Set the agenda from day one, with top management making AI automation a real company priority. Ensure that everybody understands how relevant AI will be for midterm success. Then establish roles and tools early in the first month. Identify or hire people who have the passion and the capabilities for AI automation in each of your core business functions. As an example, there are 5 roles that will help your projects go smoothly. You need a product owner embedded in the business unit. This person defines the problem, it prioritizes features, and it acts as the voice of the end user. Of course, you need a data engineer who does the actual AI automation, a text-heavy expert who can handle integrations, bringing together internal databases, APIs like Statistas, and RAG pipelines. And you will need a process subject matter expert, SME, someone who understands the nuances, exceptions, and edge cases of the workflow you're automating. Often a product owner will find an enthusiastic data engineer and process SME together, and they will do the lion's share of the development and testing. Alternatively, these projects start with a proactive data engineer with a keen interest in AI, tightly embedded in a function, who prototypes automation. And once a product owner notices the potential and adds a project SME, the trio can finalize the agent and drive it into production. Particularly, if you are in a sensitive or highly regulated industry, you might consider a safety lead, someone who owns compliance, data privacy, and ethical guardrails, and helps ensure your project won't land you in trouble. I would also suggest finding a finance partner to help define the baseline, track cost savings, and validate benefits. This role can also be assumed by a top-level executive that really pushes himself for measurable bottom-line impact. In terms of structure, finance partner and safety leads are mostly central roles that are less actively involved in agent development. They assume governance roles and support on demand. You should assign governance roles and defining guardrails in line with your company's needs. Connect your AI experts and promoters as peers, and select the first AI toolset that can be used by those experts and by all other employees. And now it's time to inspire, try, and learn. During months 2 and 3, let teams experiment with what is possible with AI. Make sure they use the AI toolset and gain experiences. If the use case involves sensitive data, begin with redacted or synthetic data sets to protect compliance and mitigate risks. Invite more external AI experts to your company to showcase what is possible. You may organize AI hackathons to ignite broad participation. Don't focus on impact yet, but passion and learning. You should now be in a position to select and empower your champion. After about a quarter, you should be able to identify leads and experts that are especially active and AI savvy. Find those and empower them to lead your company to first convincing success cases. Make them your AI champions and provide them the context and the funding they need for their AI automation use cases. Collect every piece of feedback, review usage logs, and improve the agent in weekly sprints. Agree a time to scale with your champions. Ask for regular progress reporting, but still allow for setbacks. At this process, you are now ready to take a go or no-go decision. Sit down with your champion for a fact-based review of the impact you've achieved. Compare your measurements to the baselines you've established at the start of the process. Finally, let's have a look at the underlying tools you will need. I said previously, it is important to focus on the task and not the tech. But I want to give you an overview of the types of tech you can use to achieve your aims. Now, just to be clear, I'm not recommending one over the other here, or telling you which is the most appropriate for your use case, but giving you a few threads you can pull out to find out what works for you. Take LangChain, for instance. It's the Swiss Army knife of agent building. It's powerful and highly flexible. You can chain prompts, you can connect tools and memory, define reasoning steps. It gives you a lot of control, but it also requires developer time to set up properly. Then there's LangGraph, which builds on LangChain but adds a visual graph-based workflow. And that's particularly useful in corporate environments where you want transparency. Every step is visible, auditable, and can include a human in the loop. AutoGen from Microsoft is another evolution. It specializes in orchestrating multiple agents that talk to each other. Think of it as building a team of digital colleagues. Crew AI also follows this idea, explicitly structuring agents as a team with defined roles and goals. That's powerful for workflows like market analysis, where you might want one agent focused on consumer data, another on competitor positioning, and a third synthesizing strategy recommendations. On the enterprise integration side, Microsoft Semantic Kernel deserves a mention. It allows you to embed agent-like logic into applications your teams are already using. That can make adoption easier because instead of asking users to learn a new platform, the agent lives inside the tools they already know. And then there are low-code and visual builders. Tools like Flowise, BotPress, or N8N allow you to drag and drop components together without writing much code. They are excellent for prototyping or for business teams who want to test an idea quickly. Finally, there are LLM-independent AI platforms like LangDoc that give you a lot of flexibility to host various AI agents in one ecosystem. LangDoc focuses on secure enterprise deployments, making it easier to connect large language models directly to corporate data sources. Now, here's the crucial part. All of these tools are only as good as what you feed them. This is where Statista's API becomes a game changer. When you're using LangChain, LangDoc, or a low-code builder, the integration points are straightforward. You can give your agent access not just to your internal CRM or ERP, but also to more than 3 million consumer attributes, data across 500 industries, and 15,000 brands. By pulling from verified sources, you're ensuring your agent isn't making decisions on shaky ground. Think of it this way. LangChain might define the workflow, LangDoc might secure the deployment, and Flowise might help you prototype. But without a reliable data set, your agent won't win the trust of your subject matter experts. Once you plug in Statista's market and consumer insights, you're giving your agent context, accuracy, and global scope. Suddenly, instead of generic answers, you get insights that both SMEs and executives can trust. So when you're thinking about tools, don't ask which one is the best. Ask instead, which one fits my organization needs well enough? And how will it connect to the trusted data that my teams really depend on? That alignment between the purpose of your agent and the required data is what separates the 95% of failed pilots from the 5% of projects that thrive. Thank you so much for joining me today. For those of you attending this webinar live, we will be opening the floor to questions shortly, so don't go anywhere. If you are watching the recorded version of this webinar via our platform or social media, thank you very much for watching.